So here I am erasing the guidelines using an eraser pen. You can just use a regular eraser or a putty eraser. If your lines are drawn very lightly, this is very easy to do because I've drawn my lines quite heavy on the paper so that you can see it. This one takes a little bit longer, that's why I'm using the eraser pen. One of the things that I would advise you to do throughout the drawing, once you're starting to build up tone, but also in this section here where you're erasing some of the guidelines, is to use a blank sheet of paper underneath your hand to make sure that your hand isn't smudging some of the areas of the drawing, which is very easy to do. So it's a handy tip to remember, just to keep a blank sheet of paper available with you, put it down on the surface of the drawing, and then that just protects your drawing from anything else that's happening outside of what you're focusing on. So I'm going to use a few different pencils for this drawing. A 2H pencil, a 3B pencil, a B pencil, and a H pencil. I've also got a 6B that I'm going to use at the end. Again, putting down the paper to protect the drawing, I'm going to start applying the 2H pencil, which is quite light. And I'm just focusing first on those light grey areas, ignoring the very white tones that I've sectioned off on the left side of the face and the top left of the forehead. And then I'm spreading that out into the rest of the greys as well. So I'm applying the lightest grey that I see across all of the grey areas, leaving only the white empty. The blackest areas I'm also leaving empty at this point in time too. You'll notice as well that what I'm doing here in the drawing of this light grey, I'm drawing at an angle. Each time the strokes are at an angle, and I continue to add layers following that same angle as well. So that's something I think you need to be aware of. You can see here the angle as I apply the H pencil to go over the slightly darker grayer area that's next to the very lightest one. So this is still a light grey, generally speaking, but it's moving towards maybe the mid-tones and moving a little bit into the darker. I'm covering the darker greys with the same tone. I'll come back to them and layer them also like I've done this one. But already you're starting to see some form take shape, and that's what really three-dimensional form is all about. It's about the light and the dark. That's why it's so important that you give this your time and attention when developing it. So here I'm bringing in the B pencil, and I'm starting to focus on the darker grey of the skin. And I'm not pressing hard here. I'm again following the same kind of diagonal angle I've been using previously, but because it's another layer of pencil on already penciled paper, it's starting to bring out a darker tone in a more natural way than if I just color in sections separate from each other. So this layering technique, I would highly recommend it. It's very useful for blending because you're building soft layers on top of each other. And if there's any issues, it's very easy to take it back with your eraser and then reapply it. So here I'm going over the darker areas of the darker greys and just starting to bring those out a little bit more too. You can see as I get a little bit more detail that I'm holding the pencil differently than when I'm generally shading and adding lighter tone. So I'm doing this quite softly. You must remember as well, this video is sped up by 600, so it's an awful lot faster than real life drawing, so it's going to take a little bit of time, and the patience that you put into it really does pay off in the end. again, I am constantly referring back to the photograph to tell me what to do. That really is your guide throughout the whole drawing. The photograph that's been gridded up, you've gridded up your drawing in the same way, and now it's a case again looking at the different tone that you see, looking at line, looking at shape, and not thinking too much about it being eyes, nose, mouth, etc. So the next thing I'm going to do is introduce the 6B pencil. This is quite a dark pencil. I'm using it quite lightly at the moment, and I'm just trying to capture the beard and hair area, which is the darkest area that you can see. What I'm drawing here, I'm also looking at that angle I was working on before, but I'm also then trying to sculpt the beard shape following the angle of the hair that I see in the photograph. So in that way, then again, I'm following the photograph to guide me to create that volume of the beard and to identify where it gets darker, which is towards the bottom half of the beard, and lighter, which is up towards the skin where the light is hitting it, especially on the left side. In filling in the beard and hair area with the 6B pencil, I'm not trying to draw too much detail, I'm not trying to draw too dark either. I'm really just trying to create a background tone that I can build the detail of the hair and the strands of the hair and where the light hits the hair a little bit later on. So this is really just a preparation layer for that.